Hi, welcome to Active Aging. I'm your host, Danielle Procopio. I'm very excited to welcome today friends of ours from the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. Lisa and Gerard, I'm excited to have you guys here today and tell our audience a little bit more about your program and how they might be able to be a part of it.
Sure. RSVP, Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, is a program for people 55 and older. Okay, and who have time to volunteer with us. Now, our demands for their time are not that great. We just expect someone to do 10 hours a year. So that's, if you can do an hour a month, that's wonderful. We do have some people that are doing 20 hours a week.
Wow.
And what we do is we try to do three things. We try to find out what the needs in the community are, find out what nonprofits are addressing those needs, and then collaborate with those nonprofits to find senior volunteers to serve at the nonprofits to address the needs in the community.
Very good. And I know that RSVP is part of a larger program federally. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. We're part of what's called Senior Corps.
Very good.
Now, Senior Corps is actually under what's known today as AmeriCorps. National service actually began way back in the 30s with the Civilian Conservation Corps, then came the Peace Corps, and then President Johnson decided we need a domestic Peace Corps. So he created VISTA, and usually that's more or less younger people serving in different communities around the country. But at the same time, they created Senior Corps, and Senior Corps is three programs. Senior Corps is RSVP. It's also foster grandparents, senior volunteers that serve in schools and at daycare centers. And then there's also Senior Companion, which is senior volunteers that visit primarily other seniors who are homebound. They visit with them, they help transport them to medical appointments and that sort of thing. So it's RSVP, foster grandparents, and Senior Companion.
Very good. And from what Lisa has told me, RSVP and foster grandparents are both active in the Youngstown, Warren area. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes. And what counties do you guys cover? So I guess let's talk about that. What does your service area look like?
Well, I directly cover Mahoning and Trumbull County, but we're throughout the state of Ohio.
Okay.
And
Yes, RSVP is in 19 Ohio counties that
Perfect.
that Family and Community Services, who we work for, sponsors.
Very good.
But I would say that more than half the counties in Ohio, probably about 45 counties, are serviced by one sponsor or another for RSVP. Our other programs, which is foster grandparents, is here in Trumbull and Mahoning County, as well as 8 other counties throughout Ohio.
Wow.
Unfortunately, Senior Companion, there's nobody that sponsors it in these counties.
Okay. And I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about Senior Companion and foster grandparents and RSVP as we're talking today. I know that while the Companion program isn't here in Mahoning and Trumbull County, it sounds like Leah's done a good job of trying to maybe meet some of those needs through the RSVP program. So I'm excited to talk a little bit with you guys about that. So I guess let's kind of start with, what does it take for someone to be a part of the RSVP program?
Sure. So first step would be get in touch with me.
Okay.
We kind of go over what the program is, make sure it makes a good fit for them. And then we have them fill out a brief application just to get some background information about them, what their experience has been, what their skill set is, and what their interest is. And being volunteers, I always tell them, you're not at a job, you're doing what you like to do, something you're dedicated to, you're passionate about, and you make your own schedule. You know, you don't have to work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. So it's very flexible in that sense. And then we try to partner them with an organization that's going to, help meet their interests.
Perfect. Are there any specific qualifications that you're looking for, Leah?
Yes. So they need to be aged 55 or better,
Okay.
To be involved, thus Senior Corps.
Okay.
We do a couple reference checks, and we require them to do that 10 hours a year. Some sites, they do require background checks, like Akron Children's Hospital. If you're going to go work there, you're working with kids, so that's something they require. So that kind of varies site to site.
Okay. What about skills? Like, do we have to have a specific skill set or a specific set of qualifications in order to be a part of the program?
No, I would say the one skill you have to have is a desire to work with people. and find what it is that motivates you and volunteer in that area.
Okay.
But other than that, people don't have to come in with any sort of degrees or 20 years of service in carpentry or something of that nature. The desire to serve and help people is what's important.
Very good. So it looks like we're looking for somebody that's 55 and over that's looking to commit at least 10 hours a year minimally, correct? Are there any type of fees or anything that I'm going to have to pay to be a part of the program?
Nope, no cost to be part of it.
Very good.
No cost to the volunteer and no cost to the site where they volunteer. This is all free. We are federally government sponsored, although they do require that we get a local financial match to show that the community supports us in what we do.
Very good. I know that I've heard of RSVP because I work in the senior space, but I know a lot of people that have yet to hear about it. So I'm hoping that we can do a lot of education with our audience members and maybe find you guys a few new volunteers as a result of the program. So if I'm watching and I'm thinking this might be a great way to get involved, what are some of the duties I might be able to expect that would be assigned to me as a volunteer?
Sure. So it depends on where you want to go. So if you go to Akron Children's Hospital, you're going to help work the desk there, and they have a title called Crafty Bookworm. So you're sitting there reading and doing activities with kids who are waiting for their appointments. If you go to the Geronimo program at Grace United Methodist Church in Warren, it's an after-school program 2 times a month. You're going to be helping the kids with their homework. You're going to be helping them develop team building skills, and you're going to do crafts with them as well. Trumbull Mobile Mills, you're either helping prepare and package the meals, or you're driving your car to the houses delivering those meals to individuals who are homebound. So it's a wide berth of activities you can do. Through our location specifically, we do transportation services for individuals who don't have the means of getting to their medical appointments. So they have no other way to get in there. They don't have their own car, no one else to drive them, and so we will help provide that transportation.
Wow.
We also help out with community events. So if you're just an organization, you have one big event you have every year, you just need a whole bunch of people to help out. Give us a call, and we'll let our volunteers know about the opportunity. Hopefully we'll get you some people. We helped with the WYSU fund drive recently, taking calls.
Very cool. Yeah. So it sounds like there's a lot of different things depending on what my interest is, whether it's an administrative position or maybe more of a one-on-one position. So how is that decided? So when I just say, okay, I'm going to sign up for RSVP, how do you decide which of those locations that I'm assigned to?
Well, I would have a conversation with you and say, talk about what experience you've had in your past, what kind of skills you have, what you want to learn maybe, and what your interest is. So if you're interested in working with kids, I would say, Akron Children's, the Geronimo program, United Way's mentorship program, those would be good fits. If you're not interested in kids, maybe you want to work more with seniors, Scope Senior Centers, possibly Shepherd of the Valley, those would be possible opportunities as well. So just having a conversation. And, sometimes it's trial and error. Maybe you think, this is going to be perfect. Then they're like, maybe not. So then we'll just try to place you somewhere else.
Well, it's good to sound there's some flexibility there. And also it sounds like the volunteer has some say then in where they're going. It's not just you're going here. Okay, good.
And they have say in the hours that they can work. If someone can only work an hour a week or 2 hours a month, something like that, as long as they and the site work that out, that's fine. That's great. We appreciate that. If they can work 20 hours a week, and we have a site that needs 20 hours a week. So it's really, what can you do and what is needed, and then you kind of go from there.
Very good. So I know we're talking a lot about the volunteers, but I know that there might be some organizations that are watching too that might not have heard of RSVP before, and maybe they would benefit from some support from your organization as well. So if I'm an organization that would be interested in partnering with you, how does that get determined, and how would they go about that part?
Well, you have to be a 501c3.
Okay.
Or be an education agency, because schools, for instance, are not 501c3s.
Right.
They're considered government. Or be a healthcare agency. So those are the 3 categories: schools, healthcare, and 501c3. So as long as you are a 501c3 nonprofit, then just get a hold of Leah and discuss what your needs are for volunteers, and then we work with those organizations to find the volunteers.
Very good. So I know you've mentioned a couple of your partnerships. We talked about Akron Children's and how they're managing the desks there. How about some of the other partnerships that you have in the community? Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Certainly. So we also work with Heart Reach Ministries, and they do some after-school programming, some programming in the schools as well. And they have a wide variety of tasks. So you can work with the kids one-on-one, maybe helping them with the homework or developing leadership skills, Or if that's not your thing, you just want to answer phones or do some data entry, you can do that as well. So they are a great opportunity for anyone who might want to do anything. We also work with Ohio Living Home Health and Hospice. And what our volunteers do is they go in there and provide companionship to the hospice patients in those facilities, but that may not otherwise have anyone to visit them. So
Oh, wow. That's special.
it
Yeah.
is. It takes the right kind of person to
Yeah,
be
that's
able
not
to
for
do
everybody,
that.
but if you
No.
can, yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And there's also food security things. So, for instance, we have volunteers at our community kitchen right off of Mahoning Avenue there. And what they volunteer to do is to provide meals to people who come in. No questions asked. You need a meal, we'll go ahead and give it to you. We also have people at Trumbull Mobile Meals and Meals on Wheels in Mahoning County
Very
to
good.
both prepare and deliver meals. And food security is a major issue in this area, so our volunteers do tend to work in that as well.
Very good. I know something else that Leah had mentioned that I was really surprised to hear that you were involved with was drug disposal. So can you tell me a little bit about that and all of our viewers as well?
Sure. So the state office basically has gotten these disposed RX packets, and what you do with those packets is you have a pill bottle, you dump the powder in there, fill it with water, you shake it up and let it set, and it solidifies. So no
Oh,
one can
wow.
actually take or use those drugs, and you can throw it away. It's safe,
Okay.
non-hazardous, no risk involved. Is if you have old medication lying around or your medication you're no longer taking, one, it might not be safe for you to take in the future if you choose to, or just a safety issue in case someone might find out about it. You want to get rid of that as well. So we have these packets. Hometown Pharmacies is actually going to, in their two Trumbull County locations, going to help us distribute those to individuals who might be needing to get rid of some medications.
Wow, that's great.
And we find that older people at home do kind of leave the medication in the medicine cabinet, and we want to make sure that nobody is kind of taking that away from them and then using the drugs. And
Sure.
that can be extremely dangerous depending on what the drug is. So this is a
Absolutely.
way of just solidifying it and making it safe for landfill.
Very good. And if someone was interested in being a part of that program or getting their hands on those, we would just reach out to you, Leah.
Yes.
And how would we reach you?
You can give me a call at my office.
Okay.
My number is 330-480-0352 extension 3, and that's for if you want to be a site, if you want to be a volunteer.
So for anything,
Yes.
we're going to call Miss Leah.
Yeah.
Okay,
pretty much.
very good. I love that. I know when I was learning a little bit more about the program, Leah had mentioned the Healthy Futures Grant. And so you had hit one of the priorities of the grant, food security,
Correct.
and kind of working to secure food. People don't realize what an issue food security here in the area. And it's nice to hear that we have as many programs as we do, and that you're being such an active part of each of those. I know that we also talked about companionship. And Leah, when we first met, we had talked about how recently there was some research that came out that actually showed that loneliness and isolation have the same effects on your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And so when you put that into that term, it can be very alarming. When you think about how we're discouraged to smoke, we should be encouraging people to socialize them just as hard as we try to keep them away from cigarettes. So I'm sure that because we are focusing on companionship, how does RSVP fill that? How do you guys address companionship in the area, and how are you making a difference for our seniors?
I think it's a benefit in a number of ways. First of all, the person that we're being companion to is going to benefit because of that social isolation issue that you talked about. But there's also a benefit to the volunteer because now there's yet another social contact. I think overall our volunteers benefit from the social interactions that they have. And there are studies that prove with the more social interaction you have as you age, the better health benefit you're going to get from that.
Absolutely. The faster
So-
that you heal, the healthier you stay. Yeah.
Absolutely, right. And there are a lot of people in the Mahoning Valley that do need companionship, that are kind of tucked away in different corners and that have very little interaction. So we're here to promote that, whether it be through direct companionship or even something like Meals on Wheels. In some cases, the only person the only person they see is the person delivering the meal.
Sure.
So we do encourage the drivers to try and do a little bit of how's everything going, finding out, are you having any problems, do you need me to get hold of anyone? I think it's
Good.
very important.
Oh, absolutely. That's a lifeline for some of the seniors.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I know that even though we're not formally offering the Senior Companion Program in this area, it seems like you've been able to accommodate that need through RSVP. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Are you looking for additional volunteers for that? Because not everybody wants to sit with someone one-on-one. So how are you doing with that? Do you need additional help with that right now? Okay.
Always.
Very good. And are you getting a lot of calls for people that are interested in that companionship piece as well?
I have, as I've been on the job for a few months now, so I've gotten a few different calls about that. And, some of my volunteers might be interested, but some are already kind of in their little, wherever they're helping. So we always need more and more people to help with that.
I think the need, there's always a constant demand, but getting the volunteers to fill that demand, I think that's where our real challenge is, and that's what we work mostly on, is finding the volunteers to fill that gap.
Yeah, and I know that we also talked about transportation very briefly, and that's another piece of that Healthy Futures grant that we're focusing on. And there is such a need for transportation here in the Youngstown area, specifically for our older adults. Recently, Trumbull County was awarded a grant that provided free transportation through a local agency, and I know that they were actually only able to maintain those funds for about 2 months before they ran out of dollars to give additional rides. So I know that's something that really affects this population. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you're looking for in a transportation volunteer, so some people to get people places?
Certainly. So basically just, again, someone willing to volunteer and give their time. They would use their personal vehicle to provide transportation. And that way we are limited because we can't, someone's in a wheelchair or isn't mobile on their own, we aren't able to transport them.
Okay.
So we are kind of looking in the future to possibly getting a grant so that we can have a van that a volunteer could drive.
Fantastic.
But right now, someone who's just willing to drive someone to their medical appointments, and in that way, you're also providing companionship. I have one volunteer who takes someone to Cleveland Clinic on a regular basis, and so you're spending time with that person on the drive while they're waiting for their appointment and coming back. And if you don't want to drive that far, that's fine. There's a lot of local need for individuals to drive.
And I think it's that kind of situation that we're really addressing. WRTA does a pretty good job as far as any sort of local needs are concerned. You can get door to door if you need it. But I myself have driven people who need to go to the Cleveland Clinic. We had a woman whose pacemaker started to go wrong. And she had no relatives in the area, had no way to get to Cleveland Clinic, so we couldn't find a volunteer, so I put my hand up because I qualify, I'm over 55. And I said, I'll go ahead and do it, so I took her up to Cleveland Clinic. There is no direct service commercially for taking someone up to the Cleveland Clinic, as well as other needs. So we're dealing with the more oddball transportation needs, and we get calls almost daily about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and especially if you're in a situation where you're going somewhere out of town for treatment, like with cancer. I know that even with the American Cancer Society has a similar program, and they were struggling to find volunteers. So obviously, if there are people that are watching that are willing and able, please get in contact with you, so that way we can start matching some of those people that need to take those trips, local or otherwise.
Yes.
Right, and there is even more benefit to the volunteer. There are certainly the social and health benefits, but we also provide supplemental car insurance.
Oh, wow.
Supplemental health care insurance, and we also reimburse at 42 cents a mile.
Very good.
Right, so that we're trying to cover our volunteers as much as we can.
And I'm sure that's appreciated.
Yes.
So the supplemental car insurance and health insurance, can you tell us a little bit more about how that works or what that looks like?
Sure, it's through a company called SEMA.
Okay.
If an incident would occur, which my own experience where it did occur was in foster grandparents, there was an accident, whatever that person's insurance doesn't cover, our insurance will pick up the balance of it, and it's the same for healthcare. And in this case, the woman was out pretty much a year because of some inner ear issues that occurred as a result of the accident. So she had a lot of healthcare bills that we picked up because her health insurance didn't cover it.
Well, hopefully none of your volunteers need to use those benefits, but it's good to know that they're there in the event that something were to happen.
Correct.
And I'm sure she especially appreciated it being in place.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So if we have anybody that's interested in providing transportation, we want to encourage them to reach out to you, or if you know of a grant opportunity or maybe a vehicle
Yes.
that we can get in your hands, that would be helpful as well for the transportation piece.
Definitely.
Okay, very good. So I know that we touched on this a little bit, but what do you think are the benefits of the program? Why would you encourage someone to join the RSVP program?
Well, national service, I think, is not a responsibility, but it is something that I think if we're to be responsible citizens, we need to be watching out for each other. I think if you take a look at either sayings from Gandhi, Martin Luther King, what have you, it's what have you done for others? And I think it's important for the fabric of our society to stay strong to address that. And what have you done for others? Now, the specific purpose of Senior Corps is usually seniors have a bit more time. They don't have the little kids at home. They're not taken to activities and stuff. And they have experience, right? They have done a whole bunch of things in life, and you can bring that experience into some other venue. And the demand is not that great. Again, less than an hour a month. So I think it's important for all people to consider volunteering. Now, if you look statistically, more than half of the people in the United States volunteer at some point in their lives. So most people are doing it anyway. So whether they're volunteering at a church, at a local food pantry, whether they're volunteering just walking up to somebody who needs help crossing the street, you really need to go out and do that. I think that's our basic humanity showing there, and we need to display it.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that really drew me to the RSVP program is that, you know, throughout the life cycle, people are given opportunities to volunteer. You always hear that they're encouraging elementary students to be part of service projects. And then you get to high school and there's formalized programs. And, you know, you need it to go to college. And then college gives you opportunities. And so in your latter years, then we don't have all that formalized education that kind of pushes people into those places. And so even if I wanted to volunteer, I might not know how to go about or where to do so. So I just think it's great that there's this program for us to kind of come to, and then, you know, for Leah to find a good place for us to go and to volunteer. So
absolutely, and we are looking to grow the program. Now nationally, we have a little bit over 250,000 volunteers in the Senior Corps programs. So we do have an effect, and we are servicing millions upon millions of people, but it's never enough. We always need to be doing more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, especially with some of the things that we're talking about with food security and, you know, providing companionship. As our population ages, there's only going to be more people that are going to need served. And so what better way to address it than to serve each other?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
And from what I understand, you are one of the volunteers in the program. Is that correct?
I am one of the volunteers.
So you work and you volunteer there.
Well, I believe you practice what you preach.
Amen.
Exactly. So I do transportation, especially when Leah's calling around to see who can do it and nobody's saying yes. So it's like, okay, I'll take a few hours tomorrow afternoon. I'll go ahead and do it. But also my wife and I also serve at community events. We have served for Youngstown, which is one of our sites, as far as they get writers locally together, and so we help prepare the meal for them and so forth.
Very good.
We actually go to YSU and the Festival for the Arts. We volunteer there. So if there's a local venue, plus it's a great opportunity to meet people.
Absolutely.
Right? That's how you make connections. So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. I know that, you know, Leah had said a little bit about those one-time events, such as the Festival of the Arts.
Right.
And I know just from personal experience from different organizations, we're always looking for volunteers. So it's good to know that if you have one of those events coming up and you need some help and you're looking for extra hands, you've got some people that might be willing to work with us. And again, Leah, how do we reach you if we have one of those events coming up? I'm going to make you repeat this a couple times.
So you give me a call at the office at 330-480-0352, extension 3.
Very good.
And we do try and accommodate any sort of disability problem, that sort of thing. An example I'll give is in Stark County in Canton. We have a woman who is a senior companion for us. We have the program there. Okay, she's blind.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So she has a friend drive her to be a companion so, you know, to me,
wonderful.
it is absolutely great.
Yeah.
To me, it's like that's a big obstacle, but it's important to her to be able to help others, even though she does have this disability. So,
And so you found a way to help accommodate that in order to make it happen.
Right.
That's wonderful.
right.
Yeah, I love hearing stories like that. Do you have any other success stories you'd like to share with us?
Sure. So going back to Ohio Living Home Health and Hospice, one of our volunteers there, she's in her 80s, and her husband actually passed away not too long ago, and he went through hospice care. And after he passed away, she's trying ways to connect with more people, not being home
Sure.
alone all the time, and how she can give back. She's like, oh, this is a great opportunity. I can go sit with these hospice patients now, give my time the way they gave time to my husband and I.
Oh.
So,
That's
An
awesome.
example I'll give, but it's actually out of the foster grandparent program, okay, is Easter Seals runs Head Start Daycare. And we have a volunteer, Bernice, who just surpassed 20,000 hours
Oh my gosh.
at the Easter Seal Head Start. She's been there for many years.
So I was going to say, she must have been with you for a while then.
She
Yeah.
puts in almost 40 hours a week after week after week after week. And so that's a tremendous amount of hours to give to others.
Absolutely. And I know this is a little off the beaten path, but I'm going to ask anyways. Can you tell us a little bit about the foster grandparent program, because that is available? So I know that's
Sure.
a different arm of Senior Corps, and we're focusing on RSVP today, but just so that way, if people are aware of both, maybe one is a better fit than the other, well, they'll know who
Absolutely.
to call.
Absolutely. And I actually started out as a coordinator for foster grandparents. So I know a
Perfect.
little
So
bit
you're the
about
right
it.
guy to ask.
Yeah, exactly. It's seniors 55 and older
Okay.
who want to serve in either schools or daycare centers or after-school programs.
Okay.
There is a stipend attached to it, a government stipend of $2.65 an hour.
Okay.
What they do is they work one-on-one with children in whatever task is assigned either by the teacher or the person running the after-school program. So it could be that they're over at Harding Elementary on the north side, and there's a child that has reading issues. So spending an hour on a reading lesson one-on-one and developing that social-emotional bond with the senior volunteer really counts for a lot, because then the child is more comfortable and they're better able to successfully complete the task, as opposed to just sitting there by themselves and perhaps their friends are making fun of them or what have
Right.
you. So I think that one-on-one relationship is critically important. Now, they can serve up to 5 different children throughout the day, but at any given time, one-on-one. And there's no special skill needed. You don't have to have a degree in education or have been a teacher or anything
Okay.
like that. Making that child comfortable with these tasks is what's important.
Okay, so there's kind of 2 different options we have if we want to get involved with Senior Corps here. It's
Yes.
either going to be foster grandparents or it's going to be RSVP. If someone wanted to look at foster grandparents as opposed to RSVP, what phone number would they call to enroll in that
Well,
program?
they can call our office and
Okay.
ask for it. Off the top of my head, I don't have Fran.
That's okay.
Her office is actually up in Warren.
Okay,
Okay, but
but we can get her there from, if we
Yeah.
call
We
Leah,
can-
Yeah.
Leah can get her there.
Leah's number is 330-480-0352, extension 3, and
Perfect.
she will reference you to Fran's office.
Very good.
Yeah.
So we're almost about out of time. So before we wrap things up, I just wanted to ask you both, if our viewers can do anything to help you, what is it that you need from them?
I need them to come out and volunteer if they can volunteer.
Absolutely.
If they need volunteers, get in touch with me so we can get them volunteers. And if they want to make a contribution, maybe give us a van. Whatever it may be, any little bit helps, because we're trying to make change and better the lives of people in our valley.
And I think you're definitely doing that through the program.
Yeah.
So,
And if they let their friends know
okay.
that we are here, so that, and you can bring your friend and volunteer together.
Yes.
Okay, it is, yeah, that's not a problem. But again, it's all about developing relationships and helping others.
Yeah, and you're definitely doing that. So, and we appreciate having RSVP here in the Valley, not just to serve us, but also to give us the opportunity to serve. So I thank you both for joining me today.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Our time together went very quickly. So I'm sure if you have questions and you'd like to learn more, please reach out to Leah at 330.
480-0352, extension 3.
Thank you, guys. Until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And please take a minute to learn a little bit more about RSVP and consider volunteering with them. Thank you so much.